My last evening, we got a call. Basically, a medical doctor and nurse are always on call throughout the evening. If need arises that we need to go back to the case management center. And the physician that evening, she and I were sitting together just discussing. It was almost time for me to leave, and she's a good friend, not only a colleague. And she gets this call from the staff in the unit saying that there's this little girl who's having seizures, and they're worried about her. But we have this rule in our unit that we don't do invasive procedures at night. An invasive procedure kind of involves anything with a needle. And when you're talking about a needle, you're talking about a big risk. We went into the unit in our full PPE, and she very much was having a seizure. She had a pretty high fever and just looked really sick. And we were able to sort of coax some Tylenol crushed up in some water in her mouth, as well as an anti-seizure medicine. And the next morning I heard that she had passed away over the night. And I don't remember her exact age right this minute. I know it's in the Dallas Morning News article. I think she was 10. But to watch a 10-year-old die alone in a tent and know that there wasn't anything you could do, it's hard. I remember the first time I put on my PPE to go into the high-risk area, which is the area where confirmed Ebola patients are. So everything is treated as possibly contaminated, but every inch of your skin is covered in this personal protective equipment, this sort of space suit. And I remember just feeling frustrated sort of by two things. One was that as a nurse and a healthcare provider, we like to be able to look our patient in the eye and to hold their hand and, to explain to them that we're there for them. And when you're in this suit, you can do that. I mean, I still did that. I would still, hold the patient's hand and communicate with them. And I think one of the messages we all tried to remember that we needed to communicate with patients is we're here to fight with you. Because you can imagine we've taken them away from their homes, we've taken them away from their families because we want to protect their families. This is obviously one of the reasons that inpatient isolation is important for this disease. But how difficult that must be, that when you're sick and you're scared and you've gotten this disease that everyone says is a death sentence, you feel all alone and your family's not around you. So just reminding them that we were there to fight with them. And the second thing is you have an hour in that suit. It's very warm currently in Sierra Leone, and I would come out of the suit after being in the high-risk area for an hour, and my scrubs were just completely soaked with sweat. And there's so much to do, right? We had approximately, 30 patients in our ward with Ebola, and, you want to give them personal hygiene so they can feel comfortable and healthy and nice, and but you only have an hour. You can't sit beside each patient for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's just physically not possible. Governor Christie keeps saying, well, she was asymptomatic for 24 hours, which is why we let her go. But I was asymptomatic since the moment I stepped into that isolation tent on Friday evening. And my test was negative. The result came back at around 3 a.m. that morning. The infectious disease doctor tapped on the window at 3 a.m. and said, Kaci, I don't want to wake you, but your test is negative. And I just smiled and said, yeah, I knew it would be. And, he walked away, and they kept me in that tent until, what was it, Monday afternoon. Monday at noon, Monday at 11 a.m., somewhere around that. So she was asymptomatic for 24 hours. I was in that tent for 3.5 days, asymptomatic the entire time. And I don't know what was happening, and no one could tell me. And I think if I had not if I hadn't had the contacts that I had and the knowledge that I had, I might still be in that tent, which is scary. And I was hesitant to publish that op-ed. I really was. I didn't want this to become big and about a media scandal by all means. I still have faith in people. Through all of this, there's definitely been a lot of negativity. And even, my mother called a couple of mornings ago crying because she had read some statements about people threatening, and she's my mom, so she has to worry. And but I think that we need to just continue this conversation, and I'm not trying to throw anything in anyone's face. I just think that we need to get past the fear eventually, and I hope maybe within the next few months that can happen. I know it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. I didn't mean to bring this media storm onto this community either, but I think, unfortunately, sometimes, especially when you're up against governors, you don't always have an option, right? I mean, I don't feel like I was given an option.